Hello everybody. Hope you're having a nice day. So what I got here is Eaton Advantage clutch. The problem I had with this truck, well, amongst other problems, the clutch was froze up. So let's say this is the one I'm changing the flywheel housing in. So this is the second time I've had to change this housing. The first time I was told the clutch was new. They were talking about it. It says, oh, that clutch is like brand new in there. So I didn't think anything of it. So I put the clutch back in because I never really drove this truck. So I put the clutch back in and I went to adjust it after it was all back together and it was seized up and I could not get it to come loose. There's kind of a trick. I have a video on using an air hammer to vibrate the pressure plate to get it to loosen up. It did not work on this truck. All it was just kind of hammering up the pressure plate because this one was a little bit a little flimsier than the last one. So you can see it was just hammering it up. The problem I had was that right here the little wheel or the one of the teeth broke out of the adjusting ring, and it's just, I don't know, it got pretty seized up. So it didn't have the cover on the bottom of the transmission either. A lot of these problems were here before I took this position, so I have to kind of remedy some of the issues as I go. But anyway, so this is one of them. So I could not get this pressure plate to adjust. So I got a new pressure plate, obviously a whole new clutch setup, and we're going to install that today while I have the opportunity to. So here's a part number. Yeah. Here's a tag. And we gotta see some instructions. So let me get these out and start installing this. Alright, so I took some bolts here and I just used a cutoff wheel and I cut a groove in there so I can have some studs to hang this off of, and then I'll be able to get it out with a screwdriver when I'm done. Because this clutch pack gets pretty heavy. And to try to hold it all and suspend it in there is not going to be easy.
On back one.
It should be good. Let me get some cleaner and clean this off. All right, so we got our studs in. Now, these discs are all stacked in a specific order. I don't know if you'll be able to read it, but right here it says flywheel side. So this is gonna face the flywheel, like so. I'm gonna pull these stickers off. If you put them in incorrectly, then and I don't think it will disengage right. It interferes with it, with the other pieces. Actually, you know what? I'm going to lubricate these splines a little bit. So it doesn't matter how prepared you think you are, you always remember something you need after you're into here. Just take a little bit of grease and kind of lightly lubricate this. Not gonna go crazy with it, just a little bit. The other one too. I'll probably put a little bit on the transmission input shaft itself. So this isn't a fiber clutch, it's a ceramic one, so I don't believe it's as sensitive to oils. But anyway, so just putting a little bit on there. Not a large amount. Read our thing, flywheel side. So aim that towards the flywheel, like so. Put our alignment tool in. It don't fall out on me. So I don't know if you can see the end of it. This alignment tool had a thick ring around the end here, and it would not fit through the pressure plate last time I used it, so I ground that ring down so I can stack this and then slip the pressure plate on over the top. So I'll hope that works. This is just gonna fall out. All right, so let's try this differently. Take my intermediate plate, which also says flywheel side on it. We'll take this, put this up here. All right. So well, it appears that that hole isn't in the right place. I gotta move this dowel over here. Something doesn't seem right. Yeah. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2. 6, 8. So there's 8 of them, that's right. 2, 4, 6, 8. Something doesn't seem right about this. I've got 8 bolts. How many holes are in the flywheel? I guess I just got a lot more holes in the flywheel than I thought. says pressure plate side. So you got another rubber disc. It says pressure plate side on it. So we'll have to slide that out. Here. Let's see. There. So I guess they specify these drive straps must be facing towards the clutch, which pressure plate side. So I guess if you've used this before, it can kind of help you putting it back in. Alright. What is that? That's this thing's gonna be kind of heavy. Clean this off, make sure this ain't got anything on it. Okay, well here's where the issue is. So the straps have to be in the hole where the bolts go through. That's not how this is lined up. So I'm going to turn this one. I don't even know if I can do that. I'm trying to set it up so the throwout bearing is facing the right direction when I put the transmission in, because it's got the little blocks under it. Just have to force this so to turn. Or you know what I'll do? I'll put the bolts in and I'll just turn the motor backwards. So when you put the transmission in, you're gonna have the clutch fork is gonna come here and it's gonna hook around this here and this here, and you want this flat up on top because that's how it comes in. But like this, obviously I can't put the transmission in because that fork isn't gonna fit in here right, so I have to turn it so this is straight up and down. It would have also been nice if they had this at the bottom and this thing was all the way around. That way I can adjust it easier. But alas, I do not have it that way. So these are 2 1/4 inch bolts, or 2 1/4 inches long, and they are 9/16 heads on a 3/8 by 16 thread. So I'm going to get these started. This kit did not come with any hardware. I thought that it would, but it didn't. I wonder if that's a hole that I haven't used before, so it's not going in very easy. Let's try another one. Maybe because there's a lot more holes in this flywheel. I can't imagine it's like that though. Alright, so it's going in easy there. So I guess the problem is that I'm having is that there's so many bolts in this flywheel, or bolt holes in this flywheel, and you don't use all of them. So I don't have this in the same position. So the problem I'm having is that I gotta turn this whole thing so I can get in the clean threads. Because I'm willing to bet there's one for each hole, but like you don't use this one, you don't use this one. So basically this one's sticking. So what I need to do is I need to put this where there's no bolt here. So I got to take it back off and turn it one hole. Which also means I have to take the pressure plate off. Well, not the pressure plate, but the intermediate plate. I got to take the intermediate plate back off and turn that one hole too. Because that has to line up with the straps that are on it. So oh, look at that.
1/4, 1353.
All right. Let's try this again. So if you were to take this off and put it back on, there's going to be a lot of pressure on this. Right now the pressure is taken off of the pressure plate by some wooden blocks that are in here. So it we're able to kind of tighten it up easier than it would be if you didn't have those blocks in there. Because if you got the blocks in there, you gotta go like evenly around, and I would do like a 1/4 turn or a 1/2 turn all the way around and just keep going until it was evenly put down, because you don't want to tighten up one side, not the other, because you can distort the pressure plate. and it makes it a lot harder to get this centered up correctly, just because right now everything's hanging off of this. I mean, it's in the bolts, but it's putting a lot of pressure on this too. So what I'll do is, as I get these tighter, I will kind of lift up on this clutch here to relieve the pressure on this. And then I'll get it so that this slides in and out easily, and it doesn't have any real resistance, or it isn't binding, because it can be a problem if it does. I've had it where I could slide this in easily, and it would just do like a little bit of a click into the pressure, into the throwout bearing, and it just went in and out, and it would just give a little bit of a pressure to pop it into the throwout bearing. And I thought it was good enough, and I tried to get that transmission in for 2 hours, until finally I took it all the way back down, and I had to just adjust this around to get it so I could slip this in effortlessly, and then the transmission went right in. But it was a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be. That was with a different truck though. I've done it with this one, and it went all right when I did it. I mean, this is going to be a different clutch, so I don't know if I'll have the same luck with it just going in. I did change all the lock washers. All right, so we'll pull these out. These are just bolts. I cut the heads off and ground a slot into them. There are checks that you can do to verify that your flywheel is centered, and to make sure that there isn't any run out in the wear surface. You also can check the inside of this, the inside of your transmission board here, and then the outside of it as well. There is a tolerance for that also. I didn't have any real wear issues. I just had the fact that it was seized up, so I didn't check that. I don't think it's going to be a problem. All right, that's in. So what I'm going to do is maybe these are too tight. All right, right there. Sometimes it takes a little looking around, but I don't know if you can see. Let's put this down. See, come out really. See that? Even that little pressure right there. I mean, it's real close, but I mean, even that might be a problem. Should be good. That's pretty smooth. So we'll tighten this down evenly. Put this back up. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to tighten the mounting bolts in a crisscross pattern, starting with the lower bolt torque to 30 to 35 foot-pounds. So we'll probably start down here, and we'll just kind of go crisscross in a star. Go crisscross in a star, and then we should be good. At least with this part. So, step 7, step 8, remove a lining tool. See, I don't like that. It's not as smooth as I would like it. Alright, there we go. Sometimes it's just that bit. So for 2 plates only, use a 1/4 inch flat nose punch to lightly tap 4 intermediate plate pins toward the flywheel. Only part of the pin should be visible. That's kind of what you're looking at. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me get a punch. Get a punch, and we'll make sure to drive those down. All right. What is that? I have no idea why you do that, but it's done. So, remove that. And I'm ready to put the transmission in. So I gotta free up this here, this right here, the clutch linkage. This actually comes down here on the side there. But I gotta free this up because I'm gonna have to adjust it so we can get a pedal adjusted, right? I did have it freed up before, and I put a lot of never sees on there, so I might be in good luck with it, or good shape. I need me some wrenches. Let's go ahead and take this out and do this outside the truck. Alright, so I'll put some Never-Seas on the other one, put this back on there, and then I'll be ready to put the transmission in. Alright, so you're going to want to make sure that throwout bearing is in that position so you can get the fork around it. And as you push the transmission in, you're going to have to rotate the fork arm to get it, because it's going to stick out straight and it's going to just stab into the transmission. You actually have to kind of rotate it as you push it in. So, let's see what we're looking at. So you can see I gotta get that fork around right there. It's gotta go around that. So I gotta rotate it down as we get in farther, because it will just stab straight into the clutch, and then you have to pull it back. So that's what I'm trying to do now. I would recommend when you're doing this to remove all the tools from your rolling area, because it starts to get old when you keep bumping into them. I don't know why I don't. I do it every time. I move them to the side, and then they're just still in the way. Pretty close. So we're probably pretty close right here. It's more than likely just the pilot bearing now holding you from going in, because that's about the amount of shaft that's sticking out. So I gotta kind of finagle it into place. Looks like I might have to come up a little bit to get the flange to line up. Looks like I might be a little low with the housing. Alright, so I got it real close. It's only maybe 1/8 of an inch there. So I imagine we should be good. We're well within the size of the throwout bearing here, so the pilot bearing. So I'm willing to bet that we've got to be in there. Otherwise, it's either broken or it's in, because it's pretty thick. All right, so I got this in. For full disclosure, I had this transmission. I made the attempt probably 3 times, and I kept checking to make sure I wasn't messing up the pilot bearing, but I was able to get it in without even using the ratchet strap. So I had all the wheels aligned right. A lot of the problem was the wheels weren't, when I pull it back, they're facing this way, and I push it forward, they fight each other. So that's part of the reason I use the strap to kind of pull it a little bit. But that made me nervous because in my mind I know you're never supposed to pull a transmission together with a strap or with the bolts, or you're not supposed to force it. So I was being very gentle with it, and it was concerning me that it wasn't going in that little bit. I think it was maybe like 1/8 of an inch. I mean, the transmission, it wasn't stuck on the casing, it was stuck on the input shaft. So I was worried I was going to damage the pilot bearing. So I pulled it back out, looked in there with a mirror, made sure the pilot bearing was good, put the alignment tool back in, it slipped in fine. And then I thought to myself, I did grease the snout of the input shaft. So when it goes in the pilot bearing, it would slide in there, is what my thought was. You're supposed to lightly grease the splines too when you put it in there, but I thought, well, maybe I put too much grease on the input shaft where it goes into the pilot bearing. And so I pulled it out, I wiped the grease off, and then it slid right in. So my problem was I put too much grease on the input shaft, and it was making a vacuum lock on the pilot bearing, and that's why it wasn't going in that last 1/8 of an inch, because it just had a vacuum lock. So I'm going to put all these bolts in, put the hanger back up on top of the transmission, and then get this back together as quickly as I can, because we got another truck that's not running right. It's that International Workstar is a loss of power. So I got to work on that. And another truck just came back with no brakes. So I've fallen behind. So let me get this back in there. And I mean, we're pretty much through the hardest part. So yeah, you just got to put that hanger back on the back of the transmission and put your drive shaft back in. I think these bolts get torqued to, I want to say 30 foot-pounds, but I'm not sure. You'd have to verify. I mean, if you got different size bolts and stuff, it's going to be different size, but I think these are 30, 35. I'm not exactly sure. I'll have to look into it. All right, so you're going to want to take out your shifter to get the transmission out. So this is the style shifter we have, just Eaton, kind of like a little 90 over offset one. So it was just one bolt and a nut that went through there, down underneath the boot. Pull the boot up, and then this other little boot there was on the floor, and these hoses stuck through it. We have these little quick connects on here. You might not have these. You can get them and just cut your lines and then use them to join them back together, or you can unhook them from the handle or unhook them from the transmission, but that seems like a pretty easy way of doing it. And then it's pretty much in and out pretty quick. So this shifter in particular only has 4 bolts around the outsides. Depending on the type of transmission you have may have more, you may have less. There is a bigger access point to get to this. There's a big panel here that you can take out, but it's under this rubber mat. It's underneath these hydraulics and stuff, and the plow lift and everything is just kind of like run through it, and I didn't want to take all that out, so I just went through the hole right there on the floor, and it wasn't a big deal. So you're gonna pull that out, pull the shifter out, put a piece of paper towel or something over there to keep dirt from falling in there. I put this little plate on top to keep it from coming up once it was down. And once that's out of the way, then you can unbolt your transmission to slide it out. So the installation is just the reverse of the removal. So